what we all could do with. And a cake without a potentially disastrous sidekick is very, very hard to come about. To quote Mr. Azhar Hussain, we can't keep burning things up to get around the planet. Very true. Wadai Grand Prix, and now motorcycle racing is just as safe as it is entertaining. All thanks to exceptionally brilliant enterprise by some of the brightest minds across the world. Die-hard fans of motorcycle racing all, welcome to a rendezvous with the one person who has revolutionized the sport. Mr. Azhar Hussain founded the TTXGP, the E-Grand Prix in 2009. TTXGP is officially the world's first zero-carbon sanctioned motorsport event, completely environment friendly. It is an international platform for the development of electric vehicles. TTXGP aims to drive low-carbon technological innovations forward to demonstrate that clean emission transport technologies have matured and can be fun, fast, and really exciting. Launched in 2009, TTXGP initially had only 16 teams participating, and today it has grown big enough to have its own regional championships in North America, Europe, and Australia. The winning regional teams then compete at the World TTXGP Finals. A true connoisseur of motorcycle racing, Mr. Azhar Hussain is eminently qualified to speak to us on the future of motorsport racing. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together and welcome on stage Mr. Azhar Hussain. I request our organizer to present him with a bouquet.
Hello. Before I start, actually, in the best tradition of social media, we have a Facebook page, TTXGP Official, and a Twitter thing. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to put you guys on it now, because hopefully by the end of the talk, if you hate me, I could get you now in your happy phase. So before we start, if I can ask you all just a big smile, take a picture, and you catch us this on Facebook. Do one over here. So, thank you. I am on Facebook. What we've done is actually, before we introduce ourselves, we've made a short film. And actually we made the film really for this event. And the film was really only done in the last couple of days. So I want to show you this now. There's a little spelling mistake here or there. But it'll give you an idea of who we are and what we've been doing over the last 3 years. Everything you're going to see on the screen is electric. And the people you'll meet, and actually it's one of the teams out here which I'll introduce you to as well in a moment. But let's run this tape, and I hope you enjoy.
You asked a question about challenges, and all I can see are fabulous opportunities for new sponsors, new drivers, new racers, new equipment. It's just a marvellous world of opportunity that's opening up.
It is an enormous satisfaction to design something, put it on the motorbike, and to see faster lap time. It's as good as winning.
It's important to meet head-to-head with the incumbents and win. They have to be competitive in the film production this year. This weekend will prove that.
Anyone that thought this would not be competitive is out of their mind.
Get to the finish line first. Track screen. Time to go.
2-second lead over that mark. Really coming around curtain. Checker flag out.
5, I seem to be breaking away now. Jenny,
A bit more speed.
followed by the 2 Acme bikes. PHEP. And straight off the grid, the angle and gives you an idea of how low these bikes.
The whole sport is just creeping up on the whole natural industry.
And there's a credibility that comes with competition.
So that includes the slots in about 1 minute, 9 seconds as they go in.
To the British tracks west away.
Yeah, we can back from the front in the high track. Oh, look at that.
That was so close. Well done.
Sports entertainment is an ever-changing world.
Having missions set the bar so high and our team rising to meet that, the whole game has moved up.
You just see the times humble this year. Surprised so many people.
We're looking at something which would get us a good way with the environment people.
Never in a million years guessed that they'd be as fast as they are for being electric. I got a chance to actually ride out there with a guy on a Suzuki GSX-R 1000, and we were dead even on the front straightaway, which was unbelievable.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed that. Serves a little bit of introduction to who we are. You know, motorsports is one of those very phenomenal industries. It's a little bit like the movies. A huge amount of sex, a lot of fun, and every day is a new challenge. And one of the things that I thought about when I was given the opportunity to give this talk was, you know, we could have gone one track and talk to you about technology and all that kind of stuff. It's all fascinating stuff, but I thought it would be useful to really instead share with you some of the lessons that we learned in doing this, and hopefully you can take those lessons and use them, I hope, in the journey you're about to embark on after you leave this place. And we thought that would be a good contribution for this, for Techfest, and what you guys hopefully are looking for. So for us, motorsport is really a metaphor to, I guess, larger lessons, which is how to make the change, how to go into a very traditional industry, how to go into and deal with the combustion engine people and their idea of how things should be done, and say to them, look, here's a different way. And over the journey that we've been on, over the last, we are about 1,000 days old now, just under 1,000 days old. Everything you've seen on the screen has happened over the last 3 years. And and you can't go into that battle without coming out with some really interesting observations about things. So I'm going to borrow this idea from there's a great American talker, a guy called Kai Kawasaki, who talks about how before you start your lecture, you should really tell the audience what you're going to say, because if you suck, at least they know how long you're going to suck for. So here's my list. It's not too long, and we'll try and get through it very quickly, but what I hope at the end is we'd love to have a conversation with you and have questions and ideas. So anything you have, please save it at the end. There'll be a chance for us to have a discussion about that. So I've kind of tried to break the talk down into these key steps, and hopefully try to illustrate those with lessons that we've learned through delivering TTHE Think. So I'm going to start up front. The very first one, relationships outlast the deal. What does that mean? You know, it's very hard to do anything in this world by yourself, and it's absolutely impossible to do any big thing by yourself. And whatever I've achieved standing on the shoulders of many, many people. But when we first started TTHE, it was incredible how many people actually were very skeptical about what we were doing. And for us to get this off the ground, actually it wasn't even about money. It was the fact that at some point along the line, at the beginning, there were certain people who had to believe in the vision that we went to them with. And I remember at the end of our first race, there were some people standing at the finish line who actually had their resignations in their pocket. And had the race gone any other way than it actually did, they would absolutely have had to resign or lose their job. Because it's all good and well making this film and showing you everything, but the pain to get to that, to get to the very first race, to be the very first, is incredibly hard. And it takes people to really have a leap of faith in what you're sharing with them. And for that, relationships are really the most crucial thing. And so whatever deals you'll make, and you'll make many deals in your life, remember at the end of the day, the person you're talking to in that deal, whether that deal works or not, you want to carry that relationship forward with you. Yeah. The other thing about this is it's a very, very small world. Motorsport specifically, but life in general actually, I find it's incredible how things come around again. And sometimes you don't always appreciate that this person you're working with now, even if this thing isn't working, they may be helpful to you later on in life, and you really don't want to lose that. So my first value, I guess, to share would be please treasure all your relationships you come across. Not just here, but beyond this when you go out in your professional life. You will really, really appreciate it. I mean, certainly as you develop your career, these things will really come good for you. Do you know, I've told my wife many times this, and had I known how difficult this would have been, I probably wouldn't have done it, I would say. So my background, actually, is I come from telecoms and consumer electronics. My entire exposure to motorsports before this was I would just watch it on TV, occasionally, maybe. But I've been riding motorcycles for 10 years, and 10 or 15 years now. And I've had all kinds of bikes, and so I love motorcycling. And when we exited our last company, we had a little bit of time, a little bit of money, and we were looking around for something to do. And this opportunity came along to say, okay, we've got a chance here to maybe do something really big. I wish I could tell you that there was some grand plan at the beginning that we thought this is how it was going to turn out. But actually the TTHE kind of evolved over time. Originally, it was just really for a bit of fun. We thought it'd be fun to have a race. We thought it'd be fun to just see if electric could do this big thing. How many of you are aware of the Isle of Man and the TT? How many of you, have you heard of it? Do you know what it is? Okay. It might be worth just really talking about the TT for a minute. The TT is like to motorcycling what the Ashes is to cricket. It's the biggest single motorcycle road race in the world. It is the Olympics of motorcycling. And it's based on this island just off the coast of the UK. And the history of it was that 100 years ago, if you wanted to go racing, there was no place in England to go and race. But this island is kind of has its own country, and it can make its own laws. It has its own tax laws. It has its own government. And they have roads with no speed limits. And actually, to this day, they still have no speed limits on their roads. So they invited all these rich English guys 100 years ago to say, you know, if you want to do a bike race, please come to our island and do it here. And it started. And now that race has been going every year for the last 107 years. It was the first race, actually, that put the, where Honda went to win his first Western Championship. And it was the event that put the Honda actually on the world stage. And in fact, if you ever see the Honda advertising, you'll see him on the Isle of Man and doing that. So in 2009, we went to them and said, look, please let us borrow your ashes and let us do this big race. And they said, well, are you crazy? Who's going to come? You're going to embarrass us. You're a football guy. The whole thing was, what the hell? And but the value of relationships really came into play there. And we happened to know somebody there we met in a previous life. And he had a good experience with us previously. And he really came on and helped us drive it through. And since then, each time as we've grown, and it's been an incredibly hard journey, one value observation I've come away with is that actually it turns out that you're going to work hard whether what you're trying to do is big or small. So you might as well do the big thing. Do something so big, because if you try and do something small, actually you're not going to work any less hard anyway. You're not going to make any less sacrifices. You're still going to work 20 hours a day. You're still going to have to, you know, use friends, money, time, energy, all of that. So think big. Don't limit your ambition, because the hard work ahead of you is irrespective of the goal at the end. There is no connection between the two. So that would be my second value to really pass on. And that's been our thing. You know, from the very beginning, we said we wanted to be the biggest in the world. In 2008, 2009, people really didn't believe us. From 2009 to 2010, we moved from 1 country to 10 countries, I think, in 1 year. And then in our second year, we moved from that to 3 continents in 2011. And now we are moving into 2012. We have more races happening across the world. We're on more TV now. You mentioned 100 million homes now. You can catch us on TV. So we've just done our first satellite deal. We're doing cable deals, and we hope one day also to come to India with our racing. But the key thing is all of this has happened because from the outset we just thought, what the hell? If you're going to go for it, go all in, think big. This particular bike, I think, is of all the bikes that have come out of TTHCP, it's been the one which has made perhaps the biggest impact on the world motorsport community. And there's a great story behind this particular bike, because the first time it came out in 2009, it didn't actually work 100%. And you know, in its very first race, it didn't perform as well as it could have done. And the team behind it then went away, and they kept building it, refining it, testing it, refining it, building it, and so on. And in 2010, this particular bike was at Laguna Seca. And Laguna Seca is a very famous circuit in California. And how many of you are aware of MotoGP? Do you know MotoGP? Okay, good. All right. So for those that don't know, MotoGP is the Formula 1 of motorcycling. This is the first electric bike to now put us within 9 seconds of MotoGP. The significance of that cannot be overestimated. Remember, when we started in 2009, they didn't even believe electric would be anywhere. In the course of 3 years, we are now within 9 seconds of MotoGP. And this is the bike that made that happen. And I think the lesson for me has been that despite the skeptics who really, you know, this whole team has just been trying to work very hard to build this bike. Despite all of that, they were able to really keep persevering and working and building what's turned out to be a formidable platform and has really transformed this company's prospects for the future. So now they're looking to build technologies for other opportunities, and it's all come off the back of this bike. So when you start out doing your business, and when you think about what you want to do, persevere. It's not easy. You do have to keep working at these things, but there are examples like this guy's here that it can turn around, and it does turn around. It only takes a minute. It only takes that one event, and everything you do is working up to that one big event. One of the things that happens when you're starting any kind of business is that as you grow, you are really overwhelmed with how many opportunities come your way. You know, do this, do that, or there's a new idea here, we're going to go off and do this direction and so on. And for us, we've also been on that journey, and we've made some mistakes. You know, we've done some things which I think maybe in hindsight, perhaps we shouldn't have done. And we've also not done things which we should have done. But despite these missteps along the way, we have kept an eye that we've always wanted to be the number one in our space. So for us, the eye of the prize has been that we want to be the Formula One of electric. We want to be the Formula One, and the motorcycle is just the small step within that. We now have our first car, which is now running. In fact, if you can, it'll be launching next week in the UK. So if you follow us on Twitter, you'll be able to see pictures of it and see our first race car. And all the technology of that has come out from the racing side. My background being technology, our long game has been about the technology spin-offs that we can gain from motorsports. One of the great things about motorsports is that it lives in its own universe. It has its own dynamics in terms of how people pay for it, how you test your technology, how you develop it, and so on. So if you build an electric vehicle for the road to sell to the public, then there's a whole heap of regulations and issues that you have to deal with to be able to sell that vehicle. And when you are embarking on a new technology and you're at the beginning of that, where you're trying to solve often very much first principle problems, it's very hard to do that and then still offer a competitive product to the public at a price and a quality that they will be happy with, or they'll be prepared to pay. But motorsport doesn't do that. What motorsport allows you to do is says, I want the very best there is right now. And to some extent, I don't really care how much it costs. The reason for that is because in motorsports, if you're a team, your entire income is based on your performance results. So whether you become first or second, third, fourth, these will have meaningful effects on your income. So the adjunct to that is that if the marginal cost of losing could be an extinction event for your team. So what that means is you're pretty much prepared to pay whatever it takes to have the very best for your vehicle. So just to give you some practical numbers around what that means, if you look at just the shocks on these bikes, for example, the springs alone, the shocks, they're around my rupees is a bit bad, so I'll say US dollars. They're about $20,000. Just the shocks are $20,000. Each carbon fiber brake disc is around $9,000. The wheels, each wheel is around $9,000 each. And that's just for you, that's before you even start anything else on the rest of the bike. And the reason why they pay this is because every gram taken off gives them a competitive advantage which will translate in them winning. And when you are building new technology, that pursuit for the win is a very, very healthy, let's say, catalyst to making sure you have the very best to offer. And the other great thing is, when it comes to racing, when something doesn't work, you dump it very quickly. So in many ways, it's a little bit like Darwin on steroids. It's a very evolutionary, fast-forward evolutionary space, which is why I think if you look at our performance figures now, within 3 years we have gone from being, what, could they do anything, to now actually coming within that close to MotoGP. And that journey could only really have happened because of motorsport. So for us, for my company, our long game has been, well, if we believe the world's about to embark on this whole journey to go beyond petroleum, then they're going to need solutions. They're going to need solutions to problems they don't even know exist. And motorsports is the best way of finding those problems first, finding a solution to those problems, and then offering that solution as people come up and hit those problems further along. And that's been our game. And motorsports is one of those really, really wonderful gladiatorial arenas for technology and innovation, which I think you guys should really look at, engage with, and be a part of. It's a phenomenal thing. And we'll talk about how perhaps you can do that, hopefully in Q&A. You know, I'm trying to teach my kids this. I have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. They've just turned 4. And, but I'm trying to stop using this word failure. I think this word failure is a very negative word. It's a very negative value. Because actually, I've come to see, I don't think there is really such a thing as failure. What there is an unexpected outcome. And that's not the same as a failure. When we started building our bikes and we've started racing, we've been pushing the technology more and more each race. And because we don't know what we don't know, and because we are constantly looking for more power, more speed, more energy, more power, more speed, more energy, for us, a failure or a failed state looks like this. So this is one of our bikes. This fire went on for about an hour and a half, but it was smouldering to about 14 hours. And this is what a lithium-ion pack looks like after it catches fire. And we've really spent a lot of time looking at these things, looking at what it took, what was this failure, how did it happen, and what we've learned from this. And actually now, as a result of this, we've now developed a new range of safety systems, of which we've just filed our first patents, and we hope to bring to the market in due course. But what these safety systems do, it allows us to, or it allows the customer to implement certain processes and technology within their battery system so that they can avoid this kind of failed outcome. And I've got many examples of this in motorsport. So the great thing about motorsport is that in what we seem as failure is really another opportunity to learn. And one of the things I think you'll find in your careers as you move forward is that we live in a world often where it's prescribed. You you pass an exam, you don't pass an exam. You get that deal, you don't get that deal. It's a very binary way of judging one's success. And I would say to you that's not really a healthy way of looking at it. And I don't even think that's even that incredibly useful. One of the reasons why it's not incredibly useful is that the world is changing so fast. Whatever measure you had of quote success or fail has already moved by the time you reach that moment anyway. So what's more important, I would say, is be nimble on your feet and take advantage of every opportunity that comes your way. Whether you pass, fail, whether you get the deal or not, don't get the deal. If you don't get the deal, you now have resources to do something else. You now have an opportunity to do something, to pivot and look in a different direction. And that's something that's really important to, I think, take on. I wish the lesson I had when I was your age. Another example, I think, for us has been that we've also taken this technology now that we've learned from here, and we're now trying to sell that to the power company to put into their grid. And it's a really interesting application, which is not worth talking about right now. But the key aspect is this. We developed some technology for racing. We developed it then for a motorcycle. We then developed it having learned that, oh my God, it can fail and catch fire. What the hell does that mean? And we've now taken that same technology and now offering it to a power company who can then put it into their grid to offer what we call grid stabilization technologies. So basically what that means is if by implementing this, they're able to stabilize the peak loads against supply and demand so their power stations run more efficiently. But that technology has come directly from this. So be very holistic about this concept of failure. Especially from our culture, our Indian culture, where our parents put so much pressure on us to achieve some standard. That's not a bad thing. It's not saying not to do it, but it's not the be-all and end-all if that imaginary standard is met or not. Because there are so many things going on. Opportunities are abound. Actually, this is one of my favorite lessons I've learned in my life. Call it dancing with the elephant. What will happen is that as you start I hope, your entrepreneurial career, and you start developing how you're going to engage with the world, you will come across partnerships, usually with larger companies. And you'll have some great piece of technology, or you'll have some great idea, and you'll go to somebody who's already established in that market, and you'll say something along the lines of, partner with me, and we'll do this together and that together, and we'll achieve this, that, the other thing. What I want to share with you is that it's very, very hard to partner with a non-equal entity. And when you are a startup, you are non-equal to any other established business, full stop. And you need to be very cogent of that. Because when you are a young company and you're just starting out on your journey, one valuable resource that you have, that they don't have a lot of, but you have, is time, is enthusiasm. And if you work with larger companies, they will absolutely not value that resource of yours. And they will drain you of that resource. So what you should do is when you are engaging with larger companies, when you are engaging with the elephants in your particular market domain, you should be very disciplined in setting strict milestones. Because if the other party is motivated to work with you, if the other party really wants to be successful in their relationship with you, they will absolutely dance your dance. But if they're not motivated, or if they don't take you seriously, they will drag you on with the whole chalega kind of thing, approach to things. I love that phrase. The English people have no equivalent. There's no equivalent of that phrase in English, which is a bit of a shame. It's really good to hear that. So when you are out there, value your time. You really will not appreciate how valuable it is until it's gone. So value it up front and take that one big lesson away from you. So pick your partners carefully and understand you need them to work to your pace. Because they're already a big company. They're a tanker. They can do, whether you exist or not, will have no impact on their ability, on their day, basically, at that point. But it will have a very big impact on your day if the deal doesn't happen or if the goal isn't met. So be very cogent. And understand, being a partner is not the same as being a customer, it's not the same as being a supplier. These are all very different relationships, and they should not be confused. A partner is interested in your welfare. If they're not interested in your welfare, they are not your partners. One of the things is, so the lesson here is don't be afraid. You are graduating from here, and I would say, I am very envious of you, I have to say. Firstly, not only are all of you what appear to be a very good-looking crowd, but you're also entering the market at a very, very exciting opportunity. A very, very exciting time. Coming from England, coming from the West, I would say the perception there is that India is like this very good-looking girl that's just come into the bar. Seriously. And it's this girl that we all want to get to know. So everybody is getting friendly with this girl. right? And she's being a bit coy, there's a lot of regulations to deal with, there's a lot of pressure, but we all want to get to know her better. So what that means for you guys is that you will leave here, and when you do, whatever you try, it's going to be fun. Because where India is today, there is so much that needs to be done. There are so many problems to solve. And whatever problem you decide to tackle, even if you look at your bank account, look at your friend's bank account, look at all the money you have, even if you lost it all, it won't matter. Because you'll have time to make it back. Because India is now embarking on this incredible journey of growth. It's I think maybe a better analogy is it's this poised animal that's about to, just make its jump and start its run. The fact that F1 came here from my industry is a really significant deal. It was an exciting moment, not just for India, but also for motorsports. A country this big with only 2 tracks, that's unreal. How much potential there is here for all that goes with that. So, what I would say to you is don't get hung up on that first big job. Don't get hung up on that first big salary. Really, it's not important. Just try your big idea. And have a big idea. Please, Lord, have a big idea. This is your time to do it. Before you get married, have kids, do all of that. This is the time to it's absolutely true. That one thing about kids is, and I can tell you personally, is that your priority, your life mission totally changes when kids come along. Totally. Nothing is as important when kids are here. Before then, everything was more important. And that I would even say marriage wouldn't change that either. It was only kids that changed. So while you have this opportunity to do something, don't be afraid, make the jump, do the big thing. Really, whatever they say you will have to lose, it's all illusionary. Think different. Well, of course, this is from the Apple ad, but the more important thing I think for us has been it's been the significance of being different in a timely way. It's not every day a new World Championship starts. It's quite a difficult thing to do, as I've come to realise now. But I think our big thing has been that we have swam against the current. And I think this ties into my earlier point about doing the big thing. Please don't be just cheaper than the next guy. Don't just do what he's doing and say, we'll do 10 of that. Do something different. Being different is one of your biggest strengths you'll have. Coming back to the point about dancing with elephants, the thing about big companies, what they do is that they take a process or an idea and they will scale it. So your ability to do what he does, if he does for 10 rupees, you're able to do it for 1 rupee, that is not a scalable business for you. That is not a realistic proposition for you, and there is no future where your main advantage is price. So be different and add real value to whatever process you're looking at. So in our example, if you look at the growth that we've experienced over the last 3 years, where we've gone from literally, one guy with a PowerPoint, I'm not back in another PowerPoint, but one guy with a PowerPoint and all the things that we've done has been the fact that we've not been like many other championships. And there are many championships in the world. We're not a unique thing in that respect. But we decided to be the first electric championship. And we set ourselves up to be that. And we worked, and with all that means, being a rebel, going out, thinking different, fighting the status quo, all those things, we had to do that. And if you're going to build a business, and if you're going to be an entrepreneur, which is really what I'm hoping and trying to imbue in you guys to do, then being different is really, really important. Because not only is it important for your business, it's actually also important for you and the values you want to have in your company, in your colleagues, that you're really trying to change the world. And it's very hard to change the world if your big thing is doing the same thing the other guy's doing. There's sense of urgency is something that really only comes, again, linking back to my time thing, it really only comes when you're up against some very real milestones and challenges. So for us, you know, I have payroll to meet every month, we have races to race, and everything we do has to fit on a certain timeline. Our first race in 2012 is on May 5th, and in California at 11 o'clock there will be a race, our race, and we know that now. And everything we do is timed that at that point, at 11 o'clock, there will be X bikes on the grid, there will be people, there will be cameras, there will be everything that goes with that. And one of the things about motorsports, unlike any other industry I've come across, is that the discipline of the clock is so total throughout your entire supply chain, because you cannot win any race if you're not at the start line. If you don't even make it there, you're done. So you're just getting to the start line is basically half your race, more or less. So, and the lesson it makes for us is that what you can do tomorrow, do it today. Have a real sense of urgency in your mission and what you decide to do. And also that will give you a big advantage against the elephants that you're going to meet in your life. Because there are many, many elephants out there you're going to come across. And one of the things that you have in your favor is your desire to get things done. And have a sense of urgency, a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, that this is our goal and we are doing this, and every day, every minute matters, because if we're not moving towards our goal, we are slipping back. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of our future stars here, and actually I want to introduce a couple of guys. Kapil and Nisha, stand up. Please give these guys a round of applause. These are talking So talking, they're going to be writing movies about these guys, and they're single, by the way. That's their bike over there, and their story is an extraordinary story of a couple of guys from Pune who decided in 2008 to fly out to the Isle of Man, build the first ever electric bike, and to be part of that race. And they did it. And in Chelega style, they turned up at the track, they're building a bike the night before, all that kind of stuff. But the incredible thing is that they won their class. They beat some very, very formidable teams, and they won their class, and they were up against teams from America, Germany, Austria, UK, blah blah blah, the 15 odd countries, and it was an incredible journey for them. And I would really, really ask you, if you get some time afterwards, please go and have a chat with them, and they'll also share with you some of their stories and what they're doing. The TTSGP journey for us has been as I said, not just a journey about motorsport of all the change, but it's also been a journey about the motorsport side and how the technology is really developed. And coming back to India, one of the companies that you saw in the film is also a company called Team Agni, Agni Motors from Gujarat. In their very first year, they came to the Isle of Man and they were the champions in their first year. And what we're seeing here is, as we move beyond the combustion engine to electric as a form of transportation, India has the skill set to really monopolize this space in a way it never had for combustion engine. 100 years ago, the combustion engine was developed in Europe. It was developed in Germany, and they built the first engine, they built the first car, and off it went. And over the last 100 years, the West has very much monopolized this whole technology. As we move to electric, where you have basically one moving part in your entire drivetrain, where the energy source is a chemical reaction, where the management is all done electronically, and the propulsion is magnetic, basically. When you move to that area where electronics and software matter more and more, I think the East and India, China, you have real opportunities to become the next giants in this space, not just in terms of sales, which obviously just by virtue of populations is one thing, but actually to be in the driving seat as far as technology goes. And TTSUP is really an example of a company or of a movement which I think will see us transition and focus on the East in the years to come. And that reflects really the potential that our motorsport offers to you guys, I hope. Because it's not only just about the next generation of motorsports, but it's also about the next generation of talent. And that means riders. So we have some very nice lady riders in our series, as you can see here. But also engineers. And we hope you'll come along and be part of our races. As I said, we're hoping to bring TTSUP to India in due course. But even before then, we're very open to engage with you, and you can engage with us through our Facebook pages, follow us on our Twitter feeds, and find out more and more about what we're doing. But now's a great time to take questions, I think.
Great talk. So you mentioned something about how to drive faster and how to win with your concept. And yeah, something driven with really fresh engineering ideas. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on the engineering side, on some of the design considerations you bring with very fresh output.
So the question is, we talked about making, the question is, what are the fresh new design ideas that we've seen in TTSUP reflected technically? So that's okay. So one of the things that we've seen in our bikes is, for example, when you have you're familiar with the torque profile of an electric motor, there's now no gearbox. So all of these bikes that you're seeing are direct drive bikes. This particular bike, this is our championship winning bike. I think it's about 130 brake horsepower, so it's about 100 kilowatts, let's say. And there's no gearbox in this. So they're going from 0 to 120, 130 mph, so 180 kilometers per hour, approximately we're doing. They're doing that in single gear. And there's a lot of lessons we're learning in how the rider manages the bike, how you conserve energy in that environment, how you can just basically win the race fast. I mean, there's a lot of questions in that, but that's one of the big design issues that we're coming across. And we're also seeing, and I think we'll see this more and more in years to come, there's a completely redesign of the chassis. If you look at the chassis of cars and bikes, it's really defined a lot by the fact that the engine has to be in a certain place, the gearbox has to be in a certain place, the exhaust has to be in such a way, and so on and so forth. So that everything is designed in this kind of linear package. So more or less, all the bikes look the same. Now, in electric, all of that design requirements are more or less gone. So you have complete freedom now in terms of where you can put the drivetrain, if you like, where you put the propulsion system. The tank doesn't have to be at the top anymore. The tank can be anywhere where it's optimal for the bike. We have some bikes with the motors in the front wheel. Well, that's an interesting concept, because it now means we can capture energy from when a person brakes, but it also means you have a two-wheel drive motor. And we're seeing more and more of these interesting ideas moving forward from design phase to testing on the track. And as I mentioned earlier, motorsport is actually a great R&D lab, because you can test it there, test it in competition. You don't have to worry about legal laws of road. And if it works, if it goes faster, because it's the other great thing about motorsport, it's an instant feedback loop. Did you win or didn't you? Well, if you didn't win, it obviously sucks, or something doesn't work. So we're going to scrap it and do something else. And we have 14 races through our year, so that's 14 opportunities for people to really test lots of different ideas and refine what works and what doesn't work. But the big design changes we're seeing are new chassis, new ways of placing different parts of the system, new kind of configurations of how to place the batteries, and so on and so forth.
Sir, I'm not
Hi, I'm Aditya from Your Story, and I wanted to first of all congratulate you. You know, I'm not aware what impact it has really made. You know, because I just got exposed to it right now. But that I'm really sure that in the future it's gonna be the big thing. And in that context, I want to ask you, what are the technologies related to batteries that you've come across in the Grand Prix? How has the battery evolutionized during your research in this era, in this technology?
So the batteries, of course, have been getting better and better, all through the years. So if I look at the batteries in 2009, we are now, I think, about 40%-ish improvement today to 2009. Just so as you understand, that's huge. And the combustion engine has nowhere near the same kind of improvement in that space, which is why you're seeing these incredible figures. So the main improvements we're seeing are the fact that there's more energy density per cell, if you like. We're also able to hopefully start making the cells safer. So there's some different versions.
Like we have a lithium polymer battery, LiPo battery is what we call, and there are many kinds of batteries. So I was just trying to know what are the other kind of battery your organization is working on to improve the performance of the bike.
So firstly, everybody's using some flavor of lithium something. Everyone's done some different flavor of lithium. We ourselves, as a company, we are focusing on lithium phosphate.
Lithium phosphate?
Yeah. And the reason why we go with that technology is because it's, whilst it doesn't have the same energy density as some of the polymers, but it is what we would say is safer technology in terms of its ability to really be stressed under heavy load, that we won't get some of the failure rates that you saw there.
And for the aspiring engineers who want to get, who are really interested into this, and have you collaborated with any university as such for research and other things, so that they can take their masters or like for example, motorsport racing, you have specialized courses in various universities across the world with combustion engines.
So we have tried to start something which, if you go to our website called learn.egrandprix.org, and this was a 5-day course where you could build your own bike. So we teach you how to build an electric bike from scratch. And at the end of the 5 days, you get to keep the bike. So this is a course we'll be prototyping. I think we have maybe 5 bikes now out of this course. And it's about a $10,000 price point for this thing. And that's been one aspect that we're moving along. We're also now working with some universities in the UK around safety systems and measurement systems. But really it's UK focused right now.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
Quick one. Just along those lines, I guess, is there an impetus in making some of this eco-friendly and so that consumes less energy in the start cycle? Are you fundamentally changing the way combustion is done on the bike to get a start bit?
I'm sorry, did I understand the question?
Are you changing the combustion cycle in energy consumption? And is there emphasis on making it eco-friendly while you're racing?
In motorsports, really for us, the main thing is that you have to be, you have to really be aimed for winning the race. So our focus very much is if the technology works to win the race, then that's what we're doing. I'm not sure that answered your question, right?
So fundamentally, since it's electric in nature, since you're building electric vehicles and it's not consuming petrol or gas, do you change anything about the way the combustion cycle works to make it go faster? Or is that out of the scope?
No, that's out of scope, sorry, I'm done. Any other questions? Sure.
What I was asking is that you power the electric motor in the battery. So can't you use like solar cells or something like that? Solar powered vehicle bikes, aren't they that much popular? Or is there a reason that I mean, they're not implemented? Like solar cells, using solar cells as a power source.
It's very hard. The technology of solar isn't good enough really that you could have enough cells to power a vehicle on the moon. There are solar panel installations for charging points and so on, but not for
Okay. And another question, quick question. Can this technology be combined with the regular combustion, like regular bikes in order to like hybrid vehicles? Like, actually, there are hybrid vehicles in the market, but they mainly. What my question was that, like, can this technology be like improved more towards electric and less towards combustion?
Okay.
Maybe the question is not too well framed, so that's it.
Okay. I think probably the questions. Is that it?
Sir, what was the first configuration? The winner's bike configuration. Put into the winner's bike configuration.
Sorry?
Put the configuration of winner's bike. I mean the champion. Configuration of the bike, sir.
What configuration of the championship? How does it work?
The champion's bike.
The champion's bike. So this particular bike. So this is an AC bike. It's running a. Actually, it's a really interesting story about this bike. The motor in this bike actually came from a car. It's running a car motor. This particular bike had a motor that was built for a project that Audi was doing on electric cars. So it's basically a car engine that's been put into a bike. Sure.
You come from the UK. There's another man in the UK who shares exactly opposite views. They call him Jeremy Clarkson. You know about it. So as he says, there's no future to electric cars according to him. Because if you travel 16 hours a day, then you have to spend the next 16 hours charging your batteries. So it's like, it's pointless with an electric car. He sees no future to the electric car. So what is your response? Like, do you really think that electric car is the future of, say, normal, what do you call it, consumer driving or something like that? Automobiles, is it the future of automobiles? Really?
So Jeremy Clarkson has a very specific agenda to do with his show and the image that he wants to project. Science doesn't support what he's saying. If you look at the profile of journeys that people make, reality of life, something like 90%, 80%, some huge number of journeys are 60 miles or less anyway, today. That's a fact. So what we're really talking about is a small proportion of journeys, 1 in 10, 1%, 10% of your journeys over the life of the vehicle that you will make that may exceed the range of 60 miles, 80 miles or whatever. If you look at your profile here, how many of you are doing more than 60 miles a day commuting? Practically. Can I just ask you guys here? How many of you are doing 30 miles a day? 20 miles a day? 10 miles a day? Okay, some hands have got up at 10 miles a day. Alright, so today, these vehicles, you could drive them without any fear of running out for at least 50 miles. So if you've got a vehicle today that can do 50 miles and it will serve 90% of your lifestyle, then why is that a problem? And if you're focusing specifically on these exceptional cases, you will pay 80% of your costs for these 20% exceptional cases. That doesn't make any sense. So it's all good and well for him to say, we'll do it's no future, and it makes a great soundbite for his TV show, but it's not real. The second point is, I don't really know enough about the cost of fuel here in India, but in the UK we pay about $8 a gallon, approximately, for a cost of fuel. So actually, there's just some inevitability about the fact that how much of anybody's disposable income can you pay to burn to get around? You need to find a better way of doing it.
Thank you, sir. And I have another request. So as you're trying to speed up your bikes and you're trying to go for the maximum, you're trying to beat MotoGP, so just one request, please avoid something like what happened this year was really shattering for me because I supported Marco Simoncelli a lot. And what happened to him was, it took me a while to digest it. So please try to avoid something like that. Like, I know it's not 100% possible, but please make full efforts on your side to make the sport safer also.
Yeah. For those that don't know, a very famous rider, Simoncelli, this year he had an accident at where was it? Where was the accident? Someone in the track there. Valencia. Oh, Malaysia. Yeah. So it was in Malaysia. That's Sepang. So this a very talented rider, he died, and it was a quite extreme accident. And but the fact is, unfortunately, motorsport is dangerous. The reason why we are able to run with let's say less safety than public roads is because we are pushing not just machine but also the rider beyond more, because the motorsport is ultimately the pursuit of performance, more or less, over anything else. Of course, I mean, we try to be safe. We have a lot of safety regulations, going to the bikes, the racing, everything else, but it's a dangerous sport. It just is what it is. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Please take your seats. We have some very important announcements to make. Firstly, thank you very much, sir, for acquainting us with such illuminating insights into the working of the world of motorsport racing, and all the lessons we learned from him too. I request our organizer to come up on the stage and present a memento to him.